Everyone. Our topic for today is using Microsoft Excel. We need to know that Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet developed by Microsoft for Windows, Mac OS, Android, and iOS. It features calculations, graphing tools, pivot tables, and macro programming language called Visual Basic for application. Actually, it has been a very widely applied spreadsheet for these platforms, especially since version 5 in 1993, and it has replaced Lotus 123 as the industry standard for spreadsheet. So, Excel forms part of the Microsoft Office suite of software, as stated by Wikipedia. So, this lesson introduces you on how to use a spreadsheet application to create simple reports such as budgets or cash flows. Upon completion of this lesson, you should be able to understand the basic terminology or concept for spreadsheet, create a new blank worksheet for use a template to create a new worksheet, enter or edit data in a worksheet, open, close, or save workbooks, select cells for a variety of purposes, copy and move data, change the column width or row height, create simple formulas and use common built-in function, format the data in a worksheet to enhance it, work with charts, sort or filter information in a worksheet, work with tables, and preview and print a report. So, as you can see here, as with any Office application, when you first start the program, you see the backstage view of Microsoft Excel. So, you can select a template for creating a new workbook or click the Open Other Workbooks or Worksheet link to access the Open tab in the backstage view. As you work in Excel, recently used files will display in the left pane of the startup screen. A new blank workbook is shown in the following figure. So it's here. The Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet lets you create, view, edit, and share your files with others quickly and easily. Manage charts, data analysis, and more while you view and edit workbooks attached to email images. You can select a template for creating a new workbook or click the Open Other Workbooks link to access on a tab in a backstage view as I mentioned earlier. Now, this will be a Microsoft Excel environment. So I will give you the definition of name box, insert functions, formula bar, column headings, active cell, row headings, table scrolling, sheet tabs, and scrolling bars. So a while ago, we displayed the Microsoft environment. And we have a label for name box. When you say name box, look here for the address of the active cell. So for example, if the name box display A21, this indicates the active cell is where column A and row 21 intersect. For insert function, open a dialog box that will help you choose and insert a built-in functions. For formula bar, view the contents of the active cell. Under certain circumstances, you can use this bar to create or edit entries in the worksheet. Select all. Click to select all the cells in the worksheet. Active cell indicates the current cell with the tick border around the cell. The column headings, the sequential letters at the top of each column enable you to identify columns. Row headings, the sequential numbers on the left side of each row enable you to identify rows. Tab scrolling, it uses these arrows to navigate between the worksheets in the workbook. And sheet tabs, the name of the current or active worksheet on a screen. And scroll bars, use this to move horizontally or vertically within the current or active worksheet. Worksheets are used whenever you need a report or document that tracks numerical information. Typical reports include budget, cash flow analysis report, revenues, and expense reports, financial reports, and inventory analysis, or document tracking, data such as employee vacation time or student grades, and others. Now, I just want to give you some understanding about basic terminology of Microsoft Excel. An Excel file is called a workbook, and the workbook contains one or more individual worksheets. For instance, a file name Activity 1 or AM to 2015 figures could contain a worksheet that shows a summary of the company's revenue and expenses, another worksheet with quarterly summaries, and worksheet that show business expenses and so on. A worksheet contains rows numbered from 1 to 1,048,576 in columns assigned with letters or letter combinations from A to Z, then AA to ZZ, then AAA to AZZ, and so on up to XFD. A cell is the intersection of a row and column and contain one single value, text or number, or formula. For instance, cell B5 is the box that you will find when you follow down column B to row 5. Actually, each cell has its own address or a reference you can use to find it within a worksheet. The active cell is the cell currently displayed with a tick border, such as cell A1 in the previous picture, or as what we have here in the bottom. Entering data in the worksheet. You should always try to organize the information on a worksheet in a way that will be clear to you and to anyone else who may be using or analyzing the content. Include appropriate labels and description in your reports so your audience understand what they are viewing. You can insert 3 types of data in worksheet cells. So, of course, labels. Text entries appear in the cell exactly as you enter them. Of course, the default to left align. Values, numerical values, the default is to right align. For formulas, composed of cell references, arithmetic operators, and functions or calculation commands that perform operations on data. Entering the text or labels. To enter information, click a cell to select it and then type the entry. Use the backspace key or delete key to correct any input errors. When you finish typing, press enter to move to the next cell below, or press tab to move to the next cell to the right. You can also click another cell or press any row arrow key to accept the input in the current cell. So, when entering information, consider the following. You can enter or edit data directly in the active cell or use the formula bar for long data entries. Labels can be up to 32,767 characters long only. If a label is longer than the width of the cell, it will display past the column border as long as the adjoining cell to the right is empty. Entries in an adjoining cell cut off the display at the column border. The long text label may not be visible, but it is still completely contained in the cell in which it was entered. You can easily change the appearance and alignment of any entry in any cell. The maximum length of formula contents is 8,192 characters. In entering numbers or dates, numbers are constant values such as dollars in percentages. By default, they align to the right side of a cell. If you enter characters other than numbers, Excel treats the entire entry as a label. Excel display values with no formatting, allowing you to format them yourself. When entering dates, you can enter them in a numeric form such as 2-26-020 or as a text, month, day, and year. When entering dates, note the following. The default format of the date value is M-D-YY or month, date, and year. Although, you can change this using the region and language settings in the control panel. The date values does not have to be the full day, month, and year. It can be just the day and the month formatted to MMM-DD or the month and year formatted as MMM-YYYY. Moving around the worksheet. You can move around the cells of a worksheet using the following methods. Number 1 is scroll bars. Click the arrow buttons at either end of a scroll bar to move one row or column at a time. Click and drag the scroll box to display another location in the worksheet. Left, right, up, or down. Press a direction key to move one cell at a time. Home moves to a column A in the current row. Control plus Home moves to a cell A1. Control plus End moves the last cell with data in your report. And Control plus G or F5 display the Go to dialog box, which you can use to move quickly to a cell address. You can also use the horizontal or vertical scroll bar to move to other areas of the worksheet. As you begin to work with multiple worksheets, you can use the arrows at the far left below the worksheet to navigate to these sheets. Alternatively, you can click the Sheet tab for the sheet you can want view. Managing workbooks. Basic file management tasks such as saving a file, opening a file, creating a new file, or closing a file are similar across all applications in the Office suite. Creating a new blank workbook. When you start Excel, the backstage view appears and you can choose to create a new workbook or open an existing one. If you create a new blank workbook, it is automatically named Book 1. Each time you create a new workbook during the same session, Excel will number it sequentially as book 2, book 3, and so on. When you exit Excel and start new session later, the number begins again at 1. To create a new blank workbook in Backstage, click New and double-click Blank Workbook. Actually, you can also press Ctrl plus N to create a new blank workbook or a new blank document type in any Office application. Creating a new workbook from a template. To create a new workbook using a template, you just click the File tab and click New. Click Create to create a new workbook based on the selected template. Alternatively, click the arrow at either side of the template to view other templates in the list on either side of this template. To exit the preview, click the X at the top right corner of the preview window. Each new workbook you create using a template display the name of the template plus a number. So for example, Working Budget 1 as a reminder that this is a new file that should be saved with a different name, preferably one that describes the type of data in a workbook. Saving workbooks. To use a workbook again, you must save it. It is a good practice to save your work frequently during a session. especially if the workbook is large or if you are using a process you have not tried before. To save the changes made to an existing file, click the File tab and then Save. Actually, you can click also the Save diskette, no, in the desktop on the Quick Access toolbar actually, or Control plus S to quickly save the file, and this is common to all of this application. To save the changes made to an existing file and save it with a new name or in a different file format, click the File tab and then click Save As. The first time you save a file, you will always see the Save option so that you can get or you can give the new workbook a distinct name and select the location where it will be stored, such as folder on the hard drive, on a network, or online drive, or on a portable media uh, drive. So based on what we have here in our diagram or in our picture, that we have up one level, current folder, we have drive or location to save, folders or files in current folder, date created or modified. You can choose the location by clicking the appropriate designation. Once the location is selected, the right pane changes to display a list of recently accessed folders in which to save files. From this screen, you will click to select a folder to store the new file. Type the name in the file name field and click Save, or just simply press Enter. File name can be up to 255 characters in length. The default file type given to an Excel file is .xlsx, although you can save it in different file formats using the options in the Save As Type field and the field that display below the file name field. So actually, we are allowed to save in a binary workbook, in Excel 97 to 2003 workbook, XML data, single file web page, Excel template, and many more. If you need to save a workbook with a different format, click the arrow for the Save As type to select the format you want. For example, you could save the file in PDF form so no one can make changes to the workbook, or save the file in a previous version of Excel to make the file compatible for someone who does not have the same version as you. Using Excel and other spreadsheet file types. In addition to working with its own native file types, Excel can open files produced in earlier versions of Excel, such as .xls and .xlt files. And it can import files created in Microsoft Access as well as about generated by SQL queries. Excel also supports the more generic file types associated with spreadsheet data. These types include comma-separated values or .csv. These are text files wherein the data is laid out in a columnar format and the contents of each column are separated by a comma. Tab delimited files or .tsv. These are text files wherein the data is laid out in a columnar format and the contents of each column are separated by a tab character. These files can be used by many spreadsheet programs, and you can open these types of files directly in Excel, or you can import the data. Opening workbooks. To work with an existing workbook, you have to open it. You can have multiple workbooks open in Excel at the same time, but only one can be the active workbook at any given time. That is the one that is currently displayed on the screen. To open a file, use one of the following methods. Click the File tab, click Open, click the location for the file, and then the folder where the file can be found, or click Browse to use the Open dialog box. Select the file and click Open, or click the File tab and click a file from the list of recent workbooks displayed in the right pane. These are grouped by the date the file was last accessed. You can also press Ctrl plus O to display the open dialog box. As you learned in a previous lesson, all applications in the Office suite automatically open files received over the internet in protected mode. You should understand the protected mode and read-only mode work the same as Excel as they do in Word. Closing workbooks. When you are finished working with the current workbook, save the changes and then close the workbook to protect it from accidental changes. Closing files also frees up system resources for other files. When you close a workbook, Excel display any other open workbooks or a blank background screen if no workbooks are open. And to close a workbook, you just click the File tab and click Close. And you can also press Ctrl plus W or Ctrl plus F4 to close the workbook, or click the Close button to shut down the application. This works in any Office application. Manipulating the contents. In manipulating the contents, the easiest way to change cell contents is to type the new content, press enter, and have Excel replace the old information with the new entry. To correct errors as you type, press backspace or delete prior to the pressing enter or moving to another cell. If you want to add, delete, or change less than the entire contents of the cell, you can activate Excel's edit mode by pressing F2 or double-clicking on the cell. Excel will display the insertion point and you can proceed in one of the following ways. Select the text in a cell, type the replacement text, and press enter to exit the edit mode, or use the delete key to remove any unwanted characters from the cell contents. In selecting cells, prior to performing an action, you must indicate what range or part of the worksheet to affect with that action. A range can be a single cell, several cells, or the entire worksheet. Selected cells remain selected or highlighted until you click a cell or press an arrow key. The selected range appears in reverse color to the cells. The active cell in the selected range appears in a normal color. You can select individual cells or any range of cell as follows. So, single cell, click the cell. Extend the selection, click the first cell and drag to the end of the required range. Or click the first cell, hold the shift key, and click the end cell in the range. Entire row, click the row header when you see the arrow right. Entire column, click the column header when you see the arrow down. Entire worksheet, click the select all button. Non-adjacent cells, columns, and rows, click the cell, column, or row, hold the control key, then click to select the next cell, column, or row. Multiple rows, click the first row numbers and drag for the number of rows to select. Multiple columns, click the first column letter and drag for the number of columns to select. You can cut or copy more than one cell range and keep up to 24 cell ranges in the Office clipboard at one time. You can then paste any or all these items in any sequence. When you cut or copy the 25th item, the first one in the list will disappear, making room for this new entry. Activate the commands for cut, copy, and paste using the Home tab in the clipboard groups, or with the clipboard shortcuts, display the Office clipboard at any time by clicking the clipboard dialog box launcher in the clipboard group or Home tab. As with all Office application, the Office clipboard can contain cut or copied items from my application or any application, including a non-Office application. So we have paste all, clear all, and options. Changing the column widths. You can adjust column widths to display more characters. When a text entry in a cell is longer than the width to the right, if they are empty. If the cell to the right contains information, the text is truncated or cut off at the column boundary. If the width is not wide enough to display all the digits of a numeric or date value, Excel display number sign symbols or hashtag symbols. If you increase the width of the column insufficiently, the value will be shown in standard format using any assigned cell formatting. Column widths can be set between 0 to 255 characters. When you change a column width, the stored contents of the cell do not change, only the number of the characters displayed. To change the width of a column, on the Home tab in the cell groups, click Format and then Column Width. Type a value in a column width box and click OK or press Enter. Actually, you can also point the mouse pointer on the line at the right edge of the column header to be adjusted, and when you see the big plus sign, click and drag to the required width for the column. Adjusting the row height. When you need to adjust the row height so the row is smaller or larger than others in the worksheet, on the Home tab in the Cells group, click Format and then Row Height. Type a value in the row height box and click OK or press Enter. You can also point at the bottom edge of the row header to be adjusted, and when you see a big plus sign, click and drag to the height required. In manipulating rows, columns, or cell, insert new rows, columns, or cell when you need to add information or separate parts of the worksheet. Delete rows, columns, or cell of data that you do not need in the worksheet. In inserting rows in columns or cell, you can insert a new row above the current row and a new column to the left of the current column. So you can insert one or more rows or columns at the same time. You can also insert cells in specific areas of the worksheet. Use caution when activating this option as it can alter the structure of your worksheet. On the Home tab, in the cell groups, click the arrow for insert to select the item to be inserted. Be careful using these commands as they affect the entire worksheet and may affect areas of the worksheet you are not viewing on the screen. So for example, if you want to insert a row but only have one cell in the row selected, click the arrow for the insert command to insert the row. Do not click the insert command on its own as Excel will insert a cell in the current cursor location only for that one column. Click the row heading or column heading when you want to insert a new row or column. Then press Ctrl++ on the numeric keypad. Deleting rows in columns or cell. You can delete one or several rows or columns or shift cells over in place of deleted cell. Deleting the contents of the cell affects only the contents, not the structure of the worksheet. Deleting a cell affects the structure of the worksheet. On the Home tab in the cell groups, click the arrow for delete to select the item to be deleted. Click the row heading or column heading when you want to delete, then press Ctrl+- on the numeric keypad. Be careful when deleting entire rows or columns to ensure you do not accidentally deleted value data not currently displayed on the screen. Creating simple formulas. A formula is a calculation using numbers or other data in a cell or from other cells. It can be as simple as a single cell or it can be as complex as required in a large worksheet of one workbook that may be linked to other workbooks. Using a formula to calculate values enables you to focus on the data and allow Excel to automatically recalculate the results if the data changes. So, to begin formula in any cell, you must enter equal sign symbol depending on the formula. And this is usually followed by a cell address, a mathematical operand, and then another cell address. As example is equal B8 multiplied by F17. And you can enter a cell address into a formula by typing it directly into the cell or by clicking on the cells to be included. The cell into which you enter a formula will display the result of the formula, and the formula itself will be visible in the formula bar. Excel calculates formulas in a natural order. Exponent first, then multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. This order can be altered by inserting parentheses or brackets around portions of the formula. Excel will calculate the portions inside parentheses before calculating the other items in the formula. Of course, the symbol for Excel to represent standard mathematical operators, asterisk for multiplication, slash for division, plus to addition, and minus sign to subtraction. Cell containing formulas can be copied to other cells. If this formula contains cell references, Excel will automatically adjust the cell references when you paste the formulas into a new location. Using common built-in functions, Excel provides over 300 built-in functions for mathematical and data operations. Functions accept numbers, values, and cell references as arguments within parentheses. Of course, following this format: equals function, numbers or values or cell references. Some common functions you will use include equal sum, equal average, equal mean, equal max, and equal count. So with their respective functions. Cell ranges in a function should be indicated as what we have here: first cell address, then last cell address. You can specify a range by typing the cell reference directly or by using the point to method where you use the mouse to click and drag to select the cell range. The latter method allows you to visually identify the cell range, which reduces the chance that you will enter incorrectly cell references. Be sure to verify that you have selected the correct cell range for the functions. If there is even one blank cell between cells, the range may not include all cells. Using absolute and relative addresses. Most formulas entered into an Excel worksheet refer to as cell addresses which are relative. If you copy a formula with a relative cell address and paste it to another cell, Excel will automatically adjust the cell references in the paste cell to reflect the new location. So for example, suppose you have a formula that adds 3 rows together within one column. You can copy this formula to another column to add the same rows or 3 rows in the new column. The cell addresses used in the formula are relatively to the column in which you replace the formula. An absolute cell address refers to an exact or fixed location of the worksheet. To change a relative cell address to an absolute or fixed cell address in a formula or functions, you just type a $sign before the row number and or column letter, or press F4 once you enter the cell address. What does formatting means? Formatting refers to changing the appearance of data to draw attention to parts of the worksheet or to make the data easier to read. Formatting does not affect any underlying values. You can format a cell or range of cell at any time, either before or after you enter the data. A cell remains formatted until you clear the format or reformat the cell. When you enter new data in the cell, Excel will display it in the existing format. When you copy or fill a cell, you copy each format along with the cell contents. To apply formatting, on the Home tab, click the command to apply formatting from the appropriate group. Excel provides other methods to access formatting options such as keyboard shortcuts or the mini toolbar. The following demonstration the most commonly used methods to access these formatting options. You can also press Ctrl+1 to display the format cells dialog box for further options on formatting various elements of the worksheet. Formatting numbers and decimal digits. When you enter numbers, Excel displays them exactly as you entered them except for any trailing zeros. Also, numbers larger than the width of the cell will display in scientific notation format. To format selected cells that contain values on the Home tab in the number group, click the arrow for number format and click the format required, or click one of the commonly used number formats buttons in the number group of the Home tab. So for accounting number format, we use $sign with dial sign, percent style, or comma style. Changing cell alignment. Alignment refers to the position of data within a cell. You can align cell content horizontally, column width, and vertically row height. By default, new values entered into a worksheet use the general alignment option. Numbers and dates automatically right align, while text labels automatically left align. Use merge in center to enter a text label across several cells. You can also wrap text in a cell or rotate it at a specific angle. To split cell that were merged using merge in center, click the arrow on the merge in center button, then click unmerge cells. To change the alignment for selected cell on the Home tab in the alignment group, click the alignment button options required. Changing font and sizes. A font is a typeface or text style. Changing fonts alter the way text and number appears. We need to take note that keep the number of fonts in a worksheet to 1 or 2 as the appearance of too many font style can be distracting. To format selected cells, on the Home tab in the font group, click the desired format. Applying colors and patterns. The fill option sets the background color in pattern for a cell. Patterns and colors draw attention to certain parts of your worksheet and can act as a visual divider of information. Patterns and colors are different features. Patterns can make it harder to read the data than using a solid color whenever possible. Avoid dark colors and dense patterns that can obscure the information in the cells. To apply a color or pattern to a cell, on the Home tab, in the font group, click the arrow for fill color. Working with charts. A chart is a pictorial representation of data in a worksheet. A chart can be a more descriptive way of representing your data, as it can clearly illustrate trends or patterns in the data. You can create a chart by selecting data from the worksheet and then select the type of charts to insert into the worksheet. Once you have created the chart, you can save it with the workbook. To create a chart, select the cell range for the chart in the worksheet and then on the Insert tab in the chart group, click the chart type. Once the chart has been created, it will reflect any patterns or trends in the worksheet data and show that information is a picture format. Remember that the chart is created based on the cells you select prior to activating the chart feature. If the data in the chart does not match your analysis of the data, you will need to check the series used in the chart, both the items being charted and any time intervals. You can also try changing the chart type to one that will better reflect the type of data you are trying to illustrate. So for example, a line chart can show a significant increase in product sales at a glance better than a bar chart would, while a pie chart may do a better job of contrasting sales figure for a product during a specified period. A pie chart can emphasize the total revenue of each location for the year as it is compares the values as a whole. A column or bar chart can display the same information as a comparison or ranking in a side-by-side format. When a chart is on screen, you can select it to display the Chart Tools ribbon, which consists of two tabs with additional option for modifying or customizing the chart. Selecting chart types. As noted previously, the type of chart you select will depend on what you are trying to show. Line charts are better for trends, bar chart are better for volume, and pie chart are best for showing portion of a total. So Excel provides a variety of charts type and several subtypes within each major type. So we have column, compares value over time or categories in a vertical representation. We have line, compares continuous trends. Pie, compares series that make up a whole. Bar, compares value over time or categories in a horizontal presentation. Area, compares a continuous change in volume. XY, scatter, determines data patterns. Stack, display high, low, close data, require at least 3 sets of data. Surface, display trends in values with a three-dimensional presentation and a continuous surface. Radar, determine patterns or trends with points matched up by lines. You can create any of these charts in two-dimensional or three-dimensional form. The latter can be more interesting to look at but may be more difficult to interpret. Alternatively, if you would like to a recommendation for a chart type to use, click the recommended chart tab to review samples of how your data will appear in each chart type. To change the chart type, click the chart and then under Chart Tools on the Design tab in the Type group, click Change Chart Type. Changing the chart layout. Excel generates a chart using standard defaults. Modify the layout to create exactly the look you want. Use commands on the Chart Tools ribbon to manipulate items on the chart. So we have Access Titles, Chart Title, Data Labels, Data Tables, Error Bars, Grid Lines, and Legend. Working with lists in databases. Most often in Excel, data is arranged into lists. The word list is a term from the early days of Excel, and generally it refers to the data that is arranged into a series of columns. The top row of the list includes headings or columns titles, formatted in bold, and the rows below contain the data. Column titles are also called field names. In order for a list to be meaningful, each column within the list should contain the same type of data for each rows of information. So, sorting data. One advantage of using Excel to store data is the option to sort and organize the data based on the values in selected columns or rows. You can sort and resort data as many times as required using different sort criteria each time. You can sort data by column or rows. However, it is far more common to sort by columns. On the Home tab, in the Editing group, click Sort and Filter. We have Sort A to Z, Sort Z to A, Custom Sort, Filter, Clear, and Reapply. Filtering information, finding information in a large or unorganized worksheet can be simplified by sorting. However, you still have to look through all the rows to find what you want. Another way to locate information quickly is to use a filter to hide the rows you are not interested in. Filtering does not change the content of your worksheet or the sequence of the information, only what you see. The quickest and easiest way to filter data in Excel is to use the Auto Filter tool. When you activate this tool, Excel places auto filter icons on the right side of each column or field name. Use these icons to select the conditions for the records you want to display. Initially, all information is shown. The auto filter can find rows where a cell is equal to a specific value or set of values. Other selection criteria give you the flexibility to find almost anything you need, including values that are not equal, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and between. Certain types of fields have additional selection criteria. To activate the filter command on the Data tab, in a Sort and Filter group, click Filter. When the filter command is activated, Excel places arrows on each column heading that you can use to filter data in the worksheet. Use these arrows to filter the information and show only the data you want to view. You can choose to filter the data using one of other options in the top portion of the drop-down menu. Clear or create a custom filter, or click to turn on or off an item in the list to display the items you want to see in the worksheet. To clear a filter, click the Auto Filter button for the filter data and then click Clear Filter from. So, as I mentioned earlier, the quickest and easiest way to filter data in Excel is to use the Auto Filter tool. So, again, to activate the filter command on the Data tab, in the Sort and Filter group, click Filter. Understanding the Excel databases. Databases in Excel are really lists that adhere to a special set of requirements. The first row of the database must contain field names or titles at the top of each column. Each column in the database must contain the same category of data in every column in every row in the column. Each row or record in the database contains all of the fields of data. The row containing the field names must be formatted differently from the rest of the list. For example, they should appear in bold or italics. There can be no blank rows in the list, and there can be blank cell in a column, but an entire row cannot be empty. Data in a column must be in the same format for every row in the column. That is, entry in a given column must be a numbers, or even entry must be text, or every entry must be dates. You cannot mix and match within a column. Other data that you want to include in the worksheet that is not part of the database can be located outside the boundaries of the database. You can use Excel to create and maintain simple databases quite easily. And you can use sorting and filtering to find the data you want. Working with tables. Many worksheets consist of a rectangular block of data in which the rows of data have a common structure and format. Excel offers you the ability to define this block as a table. As a table, you can use a variety of tools such as selecting summary formulas, formatting, sorting, and filtering. The same features are available even without using tables, but you would have to select the columns of data manually. However, by defining a range of cells as a table, you indicate to Excel that this group belongs together as a single unit. These same tools are then easier to apply because Excel now knows which cell to include. To create a table, the data you want to include must be contiguous. That is, there must not be any blank rows or columns in a range of cells. Also, the data must be arranged in row order with a header at the top of each column and the data listed below. So to convert a range of cells containing data to a table, use one of the following methods. On the Insert tab, in the Tables group, click Table, or on the Home tab in the Styles group, click Format as Table, then click at Table Style. Once you create the table, Excel activates an auto-filter icon next to each column titles and applies the current active theme. The Table Tools Design tab is also added to the ribbon. One of the table features is the ability to insert an automatic total row and at the bottom of the table. Modifying table data. After the table is created, you can add or delete rows and columns of data. To add a new column of data at the far right of a table, simply enter this data into the first blank column. Excel will automatically extend the table to include this new column. Similarly, Excel will extend the table to include a new row of data that you enter directly below a table, as long as the total row features is not activated. If the total row is activated, you must click any cell in the bottom data row. Then on the Home tab, in the cell groups, click the arrow next to insert and click Insert Table Row below. Similarly, on the Home tab in the cell group, you can use the Delete button to delete rows or columns of data from the table. Formatting table data. By default, the theme selected for the workbook is applied to all tables in that workbook. You can override it for a specific table by selecting a different style under Table Tools on the Design tab in the Table Styles group. The table style color option can also be removed and reapplied later if needed again. If none of these predefined table styles are suitable, you can also create a customized one. The Table Tools Design tab also allows you to activate or deactivate other table formatting options, including highlighting the first column or last column or both with the bold font options. By default, both options are turned off. Banding rows by using different color shades for alternating rows. These features often improves the readability or tables that are very wide because data in the same row have the same background color. By default, the banded rows option is turned on, but banded columns is turned off. Finalizing the print output. Whenever you are ready to print a workbook, always take a moment to review it one last time to ensure your data is correct and that the workbook does not contain spelling errors. As you prepare for printing, you may find that you need to change the orientation, scale the output, or adjust the margins or column widths to make the best use of the space on your pages. Printing the worksheet. To print a worksheet, click the File tab and click Print. Excel display both the print options and a preview of the worksheet with existing print option applied. The total number of pages in the printout display at the bottom left of the preview. If the number of pages exceeds or falls short of what you expected, you may need to revisit and or change the page setup before printing. A chart in the worksheet previews or print based on where it is positioned in the worksheet. You can move the chart to a new worksheet or insert a page break between the data in the chart. If you are using a monochrome printer, the chart will print in varying shades of gray. It will print in color only if you have a color printer. Once you have previewed the worksheet on the screen and made sure it is ready to print, you can select the print command. By default, Excel prints only the current active worksheet in the workbook. You can also specify to print all worksheet in the workbook, a selected group of worksheet, or only a selected range of cells. Also, this will be the references. CCI Learning Solutions 2016, page 311 to 350. Abante M, Basic Office Application, Anvil Publishing Incorporated. Abante M, ICT Empowerment, MS Office Application, Unlimited Books Incorporated. And to summarize our lesson, this lesson taught you to how to use a spreadsheet application to create simple reports such as budgets or cash flows. You should now be able to understand basic terminologies or concept of spreadsheets. You can create now a new blank worksheet or use a template to create a new worksheet. You can enter or edit data in a worksheet. You can open, close, or save workbooks. You can select cells for a variety of purposes. You are now capable to copy and move data. You can change the column width or row height. You can create simple formulas and use common built-in functions. You can format the data in a worksheet to enhance it. You can work with charts. You can sort or filter information in a worksheet. And you can work with tables. And, of course, preview and print a report. So, thank you for watching. Good luck and enjoy the rest of the semester. God bless everyone.